Wednesday morning, it's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Lots of news over there in the Middle East affecting the markets and energy prices today, specifically oil. Of course, we're waiting for reporting on Lowe's, Target. Walmart's still coming this week, but we do have Lowe's and Target here today in terms of the retail sales. So stocks we're paying attention to along with that market watch. And then, of course, local and national stories that you need to know. And got a Halloween candy story coming your way in terms of, man, y'all buy a lot of candy for Halloween coming up later on in the program. Well, let's get started with that market watch. And I'm looking with you for the first time since the markets opened. I saw pre-markets. Everything is up today here right now. I can tell you this, Treasury yields here this morning. Well, kind of steady, I guess, is the way I would describe it here. The Treasury Department, the Treasury yield pulled back because the Treasury Department doubled debt buybacks, as well as Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent is trying to make moves to steady the bond market right now. So yields have pulled back a little bit. Oil prices are down here today. Oil prices are moving up right now on the market, and I'll tell you why here in just a second, because some uncertainty in that Middle East. So oil prices up, yields pulling back here today. That's going to be our first story here on what's happening over there in the Middle East. But all of that means the Dow Jones right now is up 263 points, 53,602. The S&P 500 is up 24 points to 7718. The NASDAQ, well, it's down right now 33 points to 26,255. The Russell 2K, that small cap index, is up 20 points right now to 3,039. Now there's Bitcoin. Well, it's up today, 324 points, but it's in that 65,000 level here back today, 65,009 right now. So it's come all the way back up from that 63,000 level that it was out with us on Monday as well. So kind of a recovery day here around the market. And stocks we're paying attention to, well, we told you we're waiting for these retail stocks. We saw Home Depot yesterday with good numbers. Let's look at their competitor, Lowe's, out there, who did report. They're up 2.25% as of right now on the market. Well, they updated its full-year sales and earnings outlook for the bottom end of its prior guidance. And so they adjusted that, but they adjusted it to the bottom end of their previous guidance. So a little bit less there for Lowe's. Revenue for them in the second quarter missed expectations. Lowe's reported it saw pressure in home improvement spending. Home Depot said the same thing, but Home Depot's numbers were good because Home Depot said small projects are what people are buying at Home Depot right now with the way the housing market is and people not moving. Lowe's not getting that same type of a benefit here as well. So that's why they reported that pressure in home improvement spending. Their stock is up today, 2.49%. It was off in pre-market trading and was off yesterday afternoon as well as the market came to a close. So a little bit of a rebound here today for Lowe's, but they're seeing that pressure that Home Depot did not see out there. And then we got Target doing their reporting yesterday as well. Well, they're up 5.28% here this morning. Well, better than expected revenues for its second quarter reporting. Now, they did hike its full-year guidance as well, Target did. Results were boosted by that $752 million increase to net earnings. Well, that was from tariff refunds. So big boost here for their results. $752 million in tariff refunds for Target. Obviously, that'll help your bottom line. Basically, as $1.65 per share if you want to break that out as well. So obviously, that boost is huge. Target's up 4.97%. Target also said in that call I saw as I was watching it yesterday, they said that their turnaround is picking up steam was the word that their CFO had used as well. Now, a lot of that has to do with that tariff refund. That can mask a lot of issues out there or numbers that you can have as Target. But there is signs that Target's turnaround and way they're marketing, the way they're getting people back into their stores after their multiple controversies the last several years. That turnaround is moving better for Target, and their numbers prove that as well. And then in terms of retailers, there's Lazy Boy out there. Yeah, Lazy Boy not as good today. 12.83% down right now. They were down over 17% in pre-market trading. Well, their first quarter earnings came in at 43 cents per share. Yeah, 9% less than a year ago. Yeah, their operating income dropped 20% from last year. It came in at $18.7 million. So big drops here in revenue and earnings per share also for Lazy Boy. Now, Lazy Boy did say current quarter revenue would range from $500 to $520 million. Well, the problem with that is the expectation was $536.8 million. Lazy Boy not selling as much. Lazy Boy down 12.54% here this morning based off of their reporting as well. So there's some retail stocks there for you. We've been paying attention to. We're still waiting for Walmart this week as well. So because that'll kind of show us what the retails, right? Home Depot good, Lowe's not so good, Target good, Lazy Boy not so good. Now Lazy Boy, I'm just throwing in there. They're not really going to move the market as people pay attention to them. But Walmart will move the market coming up here and at least give us an idea on that retail side of things out there. When we come back later and look at stocks, we're going to look at Moderna and Merck, the two pharmaceutical companies, and then Marvel Technology. You know them, the chip maker, making some waves today as well. And this roller coaster ride for chip makers and memory stocks has just been an outrageous up and down ride this year, which ends up being a positive number overall. But you got to ride these variables every day out there. We'll talk about Marvel Technology here coming up, but first, let's go, of course, to the other side of the world. And we wake up this morning to find out the UAE, United Arab Emirates, well, they said they've paused all trade and financial transactions with Iran. Well, the UAE reported that two ballistic missiles were launched from Iran towards the UAE territorial waters. Both of the missiles did fall into the water. They caused no damage or casualties, but the UAE did say that the reported strike represents an unwelcome return of the conflict of the Gulf's economy shores, right? And basically, Iran is dragging their country mates, people that have kind of been out of it, they're dragging them into this war as well. Now, there's been weeks of Iranian drone and missile attacks on the UAE earlier this year. The vast majority, well, they were intercepted. No damage done, but it of course sparks tensions among the two countries, and these two countries, work together on tourism and things to that effect. The UAE did say it had taken the step to indefinitely suspend trade, and this was their quote, in light of regional escalations that undermine regional and international peace and security. Now, of course, Iranian foreign ministry spokesman came out and rejected the claim that Iran had launched a missile at the UAE. But they've stopped all conversations, no trade with Iran as of now from the UAE. So more pressure going on Iran is also the other side of that. Now, the other side of it, with oil prices going up today, is Trump says Iran talks are dead. They're not going to continue. They're just done. Iran doesn't want to work with them at all. But President Trump also said, and he insisted, by the way, that the Strait of Hormuz is open and operating. Yeah. So no plans for talks with Iran. If you don't know, the expiration of that ceasefire between the two countries, U.S. and Iran, has expired officially as well. Now, the Iranian officials did come out and called Trump deluded, was their word, calling the president that. But that's why oil prices are trending up here today, is based off of all of that news over there in the Middle East. So then we can come back here to the Americas side of things, of the world. And we know the Canadian U.S. negotiations, well, those 50% tariffs are going to go into effect midnight this morning. Well, President Trump said late yesterday afternoon, maybe early evening, Washington time, he said he's pausing those 50% tariffs on Canadian goods. Yeah, they were negotiating. We know they were hard to negotiating. I told you that yesterday. But President Trump said the two countries have reached a deal pending final documentation. His exact quote, and believe it or not, on True Social here, folks, I'm reading the post itself. I have paused the 50% tariffs against Canada that were scheduled to kick in tomorrow morning for a 3-day period. That's based on the fact that Canada and the USA, subject to the finalization of documents, have a deal. Yeah, so that's the actual post on True Social. Now, he did go on to say, and this was an interesting thing here, the Great Keystone XL pipeline he posted as well, long ago killed by sleepy Joe Biden, may be awoken from the grave, is what he had added in another post. Could get that pipeline back up and running as well here by between Canada and the U.S. Now, this announcement was just hours before those tariffs were scheduled to take effect. And of course, this is all under that Tariff Act of 1930 that President Trump is using as authority. Now, the Office of the United States Trade Representative, they offered additional details. I saw this on CNBC and Fox Business. Well, they said to those outlets it would address market access, economic security, and even digital trade, this deal between the two countries. So now on Canada's side of things, there was a statement last night by their premier as well, Mark Carney. He said the two countries have been engaged in extensive discussions to resolve outstanding trade issues. And he went on to say they've made, quote, substantial progress, unquote. His exact quote here, with that substantial progress, he said there is important work still to be done. He did add to that language as well. So he said, as this work is ongoing, the United States has agreed to postpone the implementation of its 50% tariff on a range of Canadian goods under that Act of 1930 until the end of day, August 21st. It sounds so professional. End of day, August 21st. We have a 3-day reprieve here based off of documentation getting done and the deal being signed is what we are looking at. So it's over, but it's not over because if there's obviously hiccups in the wording and the documentation, it could rear its ugly head again here coming up also. Now, those of you that have watched this program or even the main event, I rile on this company a lot. Something has happened to State Farm, and they have turned into just an absolute nightmare of a company to work with. Trust me, personal experience on it, and things to that effect. So it's kind of good to see that, because if you talk to them, they're the greatest company ever, and they do no wrong, and blah, 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 all that nonsense. Well, State Farm Mutual Automobile Insurance Company, which is their automobile insurance side of things, they're paying out the largest cash dividend in its more than 100-year history. They're not doing it gracefully, folks. That's right. They said they're going to distribute the $5 billion in payments over the coming months to policyholders. And that'll cover more than, people that had 49 million vehicles and policies with them. Now, it's being paid to customers who had qualifying State Farm auto insurance policies in 2025 and whose calculated dividend amount is going to be $10 or more. So if your dividend amount's $9.50, you're not going to see a check from them at all. Has to be over the $10. You do not have to be currently insured by State Farm to receive the dividend payment. Eligible customers may receive more than one check. They're probably going to get one per vehicle, I'm going to assume. State Farm says the dividend payments do average $100 per vehicle, but they will vary by state and depend on the premium amounts that you paid in the time frame. Each dividend payment, as I said, will be individual vehicles, will be between 4 and 10% of the premium paid for each qualifying policy held in 2025. Payments to policyholders vary by state. Obviously, insurance rates vary by states as well out there. So what I meant by they're not doing it voluntarily is they're basically refunding you because they overcharged you for the demands and things to that effect. And so they're giving you some money back for the overcharging that they did in 2025 as well. That's what I mean by they're not doing it willfully because they'd rather keep your money. Qualifying customers who will receive the dividend payments are currently being notified. Check your email because if you have an email on file with them, well, you will be notified that way. Instructions will be included on how to log into the online payment portal and receive an electronic payment, or you can choose to get the check from them as well. State Farm customers without a current email address on file, you'll receive an automatic payment by mail just sent to you. So hopefully you haven't moved since you had a policy with State Farm in that time frame. Yeah. Now this is my fun part. Dividends are being sent in batches, sorted by location. State Farm says it may take months to issue all the payments, so don't plan on it anytime soon, is what I'm getting at out there. So check your email over time here and pay attention and don't ignore State Farm emails. Some payments might be coming your way out there, but here's an idea. Stop overcharging and stop denying claims and making claims headaches and just charge the proper amount so you don't have to do dividends back to consumers. But what do I know? I'm not a multi-billion dollar company who preys on their customers. I do things different. Hey, moving over to the FCC side of things. Yeah, this is a big lawsuit. Walt Disney Company, yesterday, they sued the FCC. Yeah. The argument here is that the FCC's decision to review ABC's broadcast television licenses earlier than usual amounts to an attack on free speech by the Trump administration. Now, this is a big deal because this is, if not the most, it is one of the most biggest legal challenges a media corporation has mounted against the Trump administration, at least this time around. Right? Most people just kind of capitulate to it and they want it to settle and move on with their lives. Well, Disney and ABC has decided to fight this a little bit as well. This goes around back in late April. If you remember, this is before the Jimmy Kimmel suspension. The FCC ordered Disney's 8 owned and operated television stations to file their broadcast license renewals ahead of schedule. The directive came while they were probing ABC's The View program, as well as long-running investigation into their DEI practices over at Disney. The licenses weren't due for renewal until 2028. So that was the earliest time frame, some later than that for some of those stations. Now, all 8 stations are involved in this lawsuit as well. The lawsuit does go on to cite Trump's social media posts, including one in which he complained that late-night TV hosts, remember this one, quote, are almost 100% negative to President Donald J. Trump. And then even in that same post, he asked if licenses, and his exact quote was, be terminated, unquote. They put that in the lawsuit. Acting through the Federal Communication Commission, the lawsuit says, the administration has waged a retaliatory campaign against ABC for a single reason. It disapproves about what ABC broadcasts. That campaign began in this administration's earliest days and has only intensified since, is what they put into that lawsuit as well, for the first paragraph explaining it. Now, the suit does request that the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia immediately stop the FCC from taking or threatening to take any action against Disney or ABC stations, quote, in relation to the early license renewal applications, unquote. So ABC and Disney going after the administration, I don't know how that's going to help you. Maybe you can win it, but the government, man, they could find ways to get around things. So that's happening from the Walt Disney Company side of things. And folks, we got to pour one out here early this morning. It's the end of an era out there. For those of you of a certain age, you remember this completely. Of course, I'm talking about Columbia House. You know, if for those of you younger and don't know it, they were a mail order retailer. I wouldn't even call it mail order. They just shipped you stuff. Yeah, it introduced generations of Americans to new music, all with those, programs like 10 CDs for a penny, that type of things, right? 10 tapes for a penny, 12 tapes for a penny. And then they just send you stuff intermittently that you have to opt out of if you don't want to pay for them. Well, Columbia House is officially shutting down now. They posted a message there to their website, and it states that after September 15th of this year, Columbia House will no longer accept new orders. They said existing memberships and outstanding purchases will be honored as the business winds down. Who's using them with streaming these days is my question. The closure was first reported by Cord Cutters News and even spotted on the news channel, YouTube channel, Channel 33 RPM, which covers music stuff if you don't know those channels. Columbia House goes all the way back to 1955. That's Columbia Records back then, which was part of CBS back in the 50s. They launched the Columbia Record Club as kind of an experimental mail order service. What they were trying to do was they were reaching customers in outside areas, people that couldn't go to traditional record stores or there were none in their areas. Obviously, a lot's changed over the years since 1955. Media landscape has shifted. Well, that also meant the company tried to adjust. They changed hands and rebranded multiple times over the years. Go back to just 2005, Columbia House was sold to a competitor, BMG. And then in 2008, they were sold. BMG sold them to a JMCK Corp. And then they rebranded themselves as direct brands at that time. Now, they dropped music sales entirely at this time of the sale. They continued operating as a DVD and Blu-ray club under that Columbia House name. Yeah. Now, the Canadian operation of Columbia House filed for bankruptcy back in 2010. The American version of the company made it till 2015 before they filed for bankruptcy as well. Now, they had at one time floated a plan to relaunch a vinyl record club under the Columbia House brand. But they never pulled the trigger on that because there's vinyl's not huge sales, but there are people that love vinyl, right? So they're going to go that route. Ended up not going that way. Now, the interesting thing about this, if you don't know, was the number one complaint about this, their billing model. They required customers to decline monthly selections or be charged automatically. This is that negative option billing that's out there in the world. Kind of became famous because of Columbia House. I'm not sure they founded it, but they became famous for it as well. This was the number one complaint about Columbia House over the years. Customer complaints galore. Basically, they'd say, we're going to ship you this in a week if you don't opt out of it. Most people didn't opt out of it. They didn't see the message. They didn't see the thing that came in the mail. They didn't opt out of it, so you just got it, and then you got charged, $13 or whatever for the tape or CD at that time. But I'm going to argue Columbia House, the world's better off without them, but it is a staple from a lot of years out there. Big staple there for a lot of our childhoods, at least the commercials and seeing them out there as well. Hey, when we come back here at McCollum on Business, we keep the show rolling, of course, here on this Wednesday. Local stories coming your way, and we got a Halloween treat one coming your way, so stay tuned. Come on back. It's McCollum on Business, Wednesday edition. Welcome back here to McCollum on Business and chimes in. Don't forget, live on YouTube right now, TME Media AZ on the YouTube channels is where you can find our program. You can also search McCollum on Business on YouTube. It'll come right up for you as well as we are live here. Ann chimes in on the YouTube chat and says, I love creating my music picks with their stamps. I forgot about the stamps. Yeah, you create them that way. I said, then they would all show up, and that was the best day ever. She said, I didn't realize they were still around. Well, I think that's why they're closing their doors, is a lot of us just kind of forgot about them. And I know a lot of people still like physical discs, physical CDs out there. Like I said, vinyl. Yeah, it's a smaller subsection, but it's a huge deal, and people love that. But just most people have gone to streaming and those types of services. With Apple Music, YouTube Music, Spotify, etc. So it is interesting that they stuck around for this long out there because streaming hits everybody, right? Compared to physical CDs and discs if you don't have record stores around you out there. But hey, folks, you're catching us live right now on YouTube, TME Media AZ. As soon as we're done here, go right into the main event. We have three in a row, state champion, 2A state champion, Mike Sheehan, coach of Scottsdale Christian Academy, joining us today on his normal Wednesday show here throughout the season. Be week 2. Their season starts this Friday night, coming up here at 9 o'clock here on the main event. Catch it live here on YouTube, TME Media AZ. If you can't watch us live, your boss is a slave driver, you're driving and you obviously don't want to watch then. Your kids are rambunctious this morning, right? Well, catch us on demand later on in the day as well, both on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube as well as over on Rumble. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is the channel. Of course, just search The Real Matrix, for instance, and it comes right up for you over there as well now. But all of the programming is on demand, including the pit stop over there on Rumble as well as here on YouTube. The only difference between the two streaming services, for those of you that are wondering, well, The Real Matrix is exclusive to Rumble. Every Friday at noon, a Real Matrix new episode comes out. Last week we had a Fauci episode. Well, this week, a follow-up Fauci episode coming your way this Friday as well. Noon on Rumble, also on the free podcasting systems. All of our programs, except for this one, McCollum on Business, are on the free podcasting systems. Just go to Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, Podchaser. I think I got them all that time, maybe. Well, just search the show names. They'll come right up for you, whether it be the Pit Stop with Steven, the Real Main Event with Steven, or the Main Event with Dale, the Real Matrix, Angry Patriot. It pops right up for you for those of you that would rather listen to the audio podcast. Every show has social media except for this one. This one's coming. It's all reserved and going. We just haven't posted to it yet or announced it. It's coming your way here with some changes we have coming up. I had a meeting last night about this program and some changes we've got coming, interviews, etc. We're going to start integrating here into this program coming our way. So a lot of changes. Social media will be coming here. But in the meantime, every show but this one and The Real Matrix does have social media out there on X. Join them. Follow us there as well, including TME Media AZ, our parent company. Give them a follow as well if you would out there. Hey, and with all that being said, let's get right back into that Market Watch. I'm just proud of myself here because I was able to hold that sneeze off until I could itch my face into this Market Watch. I know if you saw yesterday's show, you unfortunately saw me sneeze on air. Trying to avoid that here today. We'll see if that can happen. Now we'll have that bet going on. Dow Jones right now up to 287 points. S&P 500 up 25 points. Right now, earlier when we looked at the NASDAQ, it was down about 20 points. Still down 28 points right now, the NASDAQ is. Here about an hour into the trading day, and then the Russell 2K is up 22 points right now. Bitcoin's up 700 points, and continuing, it's up today. When we looked at it earlier, it was right at 65,392 as of right now for Bitcoin as well here going into today's trading day. We're waiting for Walmart to come out still this week. We saw Lowe's and Target earlier in terms of those retail sales, things to that effect. Oil prices are rising today with the news out of the Middle East. Treasury yields are falling today. As Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, doubles by debt buybacks in order to kind of settle down that Treasury yield area, because that's a big deal out there as well. Well, let's look at stocks right now, and stocks we're paying it to in this segment. Moderna is going to be the first one we're going to look at. Pharmaceutical companies, they are up today. That is not a joke there, folks. Yeah. 128% up right now, an hour into trading. Moderna is the first one we're looking at. And I'll tell you, Merck's the other one we're looking at. If we can throw Merck up there as well. See how high it's gone. Oh, it's only 11% up so far. Well, basically what happened, personalized cancer vaccine between these two companies. And Moderna was the main company in this. That's why you're seeing a bigger up for them than Merck. But the cancer vaccine between these two companies showed positive results in a late-stage trial. Moderna stock, as I said, way up. You saw that 129%. So it's unclear when the companies plan to submit applications for approval of the drug to the FDA here in the United States. but positive late-stage trial, they can now do the submittal of that. And this means going to be, if they have a cancer vaccine with success, this is huge news here for these two pharmaceutical companies. That's why they're both up, one through the roof. Merck up as well. They're trailing a little bit behind. Like I said, it all based off of which company is, more invested in it than the other one. But they are working together on that side. So maybe we have a cancer vaccine coming up between these two companies. Marvel Technology is the next stock we're going to look at now, the chip maker out there. Well, they're up as well, 6.75% today. They announced they're giving Google permission to buy a $12 billion stake in Marvel Technology. It's all part of a deal to develop custom chips for Google. Yeah, $12 billion stake Google's buying into Marvel Technology. That's why they're up 7.22% here today for them as well. So we've got some big movements on some of these stocks today. I'm excited. I want to read more about that cancer vaccine, personalized cancer vaccine. Now, they still got to apply for approval in the U.S. and things to that effect. I don't know. I know the process. I don't know how long it takes and trials, and they just look at old trials or whatnot. But that is an intriguing thing. I'd like to going to look into some more when I have some reading time later on. And let's get into some local stories here that we need to talk about. And state gaming officials, basically over gambling. They say that about $664 million bet this June was bet this June. Here, just in Arizona, folks. 22% increase from the same month last year. What happened in June this year that hasn't happened in other Junes? Well, recently, every 4 years, the World Cup. Yeah, that was the big driver in this as well. That began in June, and that's why you saw the big uptick. But also, NBA, NHL, the championship games and series are going on in that time frame as well. But the difference is those happen every June. The difference is World Cup was added into it, so we're seeing that 22%. Now, there was a rise in the amount bet, but records show that the states actually took in about $2 million less in taxes than June of last year. Means people didn't win as much, folks. A gaming department spokesperson did say that's due to players having won more and sportsbooks offering more free bets, which they can claim as deductions instead of paying the taxes. Okay, so they're saying they won more, but also, like you said, the free bets to get people the bets out there as well kind of offset those taxes on those companies. But folks, here in Arizona, you guys like to bet there in June with the World Cup and everything happening. Big numbers happening at 22%. Such a huge number there as well. I found this interesting. I'm going to read this story from In Business Magazine because boy, does it get numbery here. Then I'll sum it up at the end. Carvana, right? Local company, internet platform for buying and selling cars and all that stuff. Here's the wording from In Business Magazine. Announced the successful upsize and pricing of a senior secured term loan B facility in an aggregate principal amount of $1.66 billion. That was actually written. I'm not making fun of it. It's true. It's just, boy, is that technical for people out there. Now, the Carvana does plan to use the proceeds from the Term B loan together with cash on hand. Well, they're going to redeem the full company's 9% senior secured notes due in 2030. What does that mean? They're paying down their debts, folks. About 9% of their debt. They're paying it down. The transaction strengthens Carvana's financial position because it's replacing the company's nearest maturity secured notes, meaning the ones that expire the quickest, with longer dated and lower cost financing is basically what they did out there. So the debt maturity profile has been extended, meaning 2030 is no longer the date their debts are due. They're going to be later than that now. But also cash interest expense by about $45 million, according to the reports that I saw out there. And by the way, $45 million per year over the next 4 years as well. So Carvana strengthened that. Basically, they strengthen those books there by doing it. So again, summary here. I know that was pretty. I just read that story and I was like, that is wordy. Let me read that to everybody. Make your head hurt early this morning. But basically, Carvana's replacing 9% of their debt in that 1.66 financial reset, extending it out, lower terms, less interest being paid. Carvana's books got a little stronger with this move out there for a local company. Now, we'll talk about American Airlines. Not a local story here, but it's interesting if you're going to be traveling here. And let's say 2028 or later with American Airlines, pay attention to this because American Airlines announced yesterday, excuse me, that more than 800 narrow body aircraft will eventually receive new entertainment systems. This will include 4K displays, Bluetooth connectivity, and even USB-C charging on the airplanes. So these new aircraft will be equipped with screens, and they're expected to be beginning arriving in the second half of 2028. Well, I gave you that date earlier. Got a while still here, but retrofits of existing jets, they're scheduled to start later in 2028 as well. So they're announcing it, but you got a while. I remember the day and time when American took out all of the in-seat video screens and things to that stuff because they wanted to save weight and everything. And then everybody moved to iPads and things to that effect. Now they're putting them back in, folks. Time marches on, I guess. This retrofit program is expected to stretch into the early 2030s to retrofit their planes. Now, what they're doing is it's a big shift here because I just told you. I remember when they took all this stuff out of planes. Save weight. People had individual machines. And for years, American Airlines has relied heavily on passengers streaming entertainment on their own phones, tablets, laptops on the domestic flights. Well, they told Fox News Digital here in this story that changing passenger habits, well, it's helping them move this decision. Yeah. Younger travelers, again, making some waves here. They increasingly expect access to multiple devices and larger screens during their trips. And then the thing that's helping this, improvements in satellite internet, right? They're changing what airlines can offer passengers in the cabin. Now, American plans to begin installing high-speed Starlink Wi-Fi on its narrow-body aircraft next year in 2027. So that's step one. Then everything gets put in 2028. Now, they said by combining built-in screens, passengers' personal devices, and faster connectivity, well, that's going to give you a more personalized in-flight experience, but also open up new opportunities for engagement and revenue growth for American. They're going to charge you for all of that. The upgrades are going to cover new aircraft and planes already in the fleet. Like I said, there's a retrofit through the 2030s. Here's the planes, though. Not every plane is going to get them. So now, granted, you got time. You don't need to grab a pen and write this down if you're traveling to find out what plane you need to be on. But newly delivered Airbus A321s and Boeing 737 MAX 10 aircraft, they'll receive the entertainment systems as they're being built. So they'll be brought out with that as well. Existing narrow-body aircraft will be retrofitted, but not all of them. Airbus A320 fleets is the exception. They will not receive the new setback entertainment systems at all. At least the plan is not now for them to get those retrofits as well. American also announced some other changes coming up, increasing the number of higher-priced seats across its narrow-body operations. Yeah, so they're trying to compete for travelers willing to pay more for that additional space and premium amenities. The premium side of what all these airlines are trying to do. And also, American says premium seating currently represents about 25% of seats on their narrow-body departures. They expect that figure to climb to about 40% in the coming years. So, folks, get ready to pay for premium seats, even if you don't want them, because it's going to be most of the airplane coming up here as well. So, some changes from American. I just find it interesting. I remember when they yanked all that stuff out of the airplanes, to save weight, and people have individual stuff, and well, our weight will be down on it if we rip all this stuff out. And now, just going right back to it again. It's amazing how that works in this world. All right, we know what's coming up, right? We're at the end of August. We got another month and a half, 2 months so, for Halloween to come up. Well, here's the interesting thing. They're now saying that Halloween trick-or-treating, well, less sugar could be involved this year because consumers, you guys, you're looking for healthier snacks, and candy companies such as Hershey, the other one, but Hershey's is the biggest one, adapt their product offerings for those healthier snacks. Less sugary snacks, I should say. A lot of this is fueled by those GLP-1 weight loss drugs and focus on health that a lot of people, and especially the younger generations, are going through. We know eating habits have changed over the last several years, and that means you have to adjust if you want to survive. And sweet and salty snack makers are adjusting their portfolios to offer more protein, smaller size products, and fewer calories in their products as well. So now Halloween's October 31st, obviously out there. And the run up to that, it can account for nearly a fifth of annual confectionery retail sales. It's a huge time for candy makers. Hershey, well, they've moved to and have announced more salty snacks, popcorn, think cheese puffs, think pretzels. Yeah, to its chicken treats offerings out there, not just candy as well. Research, according to Hershey's, has found that U.S. consumers begin stocking up on candy and their Halloween stuff months before the actual holiday. Chances are you've already started buying your Halloween giveaways now. Yeah. Chocolate is still going to be the Halloween snack of choice, but that is being less and less because of those healthy side of things out there. Sales of snack-sized bags of chocolates and sweets, they've risen double digits versus last year, so far this year. Sugar-free versions of it, though, things like sugar alcohols rather than conventional sugar, they're also a growth area that's being focused on by these companies and things. U.S. dollar sales in Hershey's zero sugar candy, the mint and gum business, well, it grew around 4.3 times from 2020 through 2025. That's a huge growth there for those zero sugar items as well. And then you go to research from the National Confectioners Association. They found that in 2024, Americans spent $7.4 billion on treats. Yeah, that's 18% of all confectionery retail sales in 2024 as well. It amazes me how big of a season that people buy things on and stuff like that for candy for Halloween is. It is an amazing, staggering number out there, folks. And I'm a candy person. Like, I'll eat M&Ms occasionally and Red Vines occasionally, and I'll dabble on some other, but I'm just not a big candy person. And it just shocks me how big Halloween is. But for those of you needing it or wanting it, or, just don't be the person that gives toothbrushes out at your, I don't care, dentist. I don't care how big of a dentist you are. Give candy out, man. It keeps you in business. Don't give toothbrushes. Don't give pennies or quarters. Give candies, people. Or maybe I'll take some good popcorn or something. That'd be fantastic. Ooh, popcorn ball. That'd be good too. All right, folks. I'm going to go daydream about food and candy now, of course, as we wrap up this Wednesday edition of McCollum on Business. We'll be back tomorrow coming up as well, 7 a.m. Come and join us live here on YouTube or catch us on demand throughout the rest of the day or week that you can get back and catch the shows. We're rolling into the main event next. Come and join me. Going to have some fun here. Cattell Marte updates. I got some more complaints about how that's being handled. We'll talk about that coming up and so much more. Yes, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one.